Don't you feel like one of the hardest things as a web designer right now is just getting your foot in the door with the people that you want to work with? Because even if you say that you can help with websites, it's like people are like, yeah, I'm not really interested in that. I've already done that. I don't want to spend more money on things that aren't working. And so it's just really hard to get people's attention, even though there's so much stuff that we can be doing to help. And so they're preventing their own help, which is crazy, right? So I want to share with you a tip that you can do in like 5 seconds that will just completely turn the tables on all of this. I'm Lee Blue, I'm the founder of DoubleStack, and I personally mentor some of today's top earning web designers. And this is one of the tips that we use when you go to like a networking event or have an in-person meetup with somebody, and you want to position yourself in like a high value consultant kind of role, as opposed to like a low value kind of garden variety web designer. And I'll share with you a couple of ways that I discovered this. One way is I've got 5 kids, and my older kids are to the age where they're actually starting to get like their first jobs and stuff. And they're obviously the lowest paid people out there because they don't really know how to do anything specific yet. And so whatever the job is, working at a restaurant, ice cream, cleaning things or whatever, it's like you kind of just show up at the job and just do whatever the people tell you to do. You don't have to like bring a skill set. And that's like the lowest value job there is, right? And now contrast that with the highest value job there is, like a doctor. Like you would never go into a doctor's office and start telling the doctor what to do. You go there and hope that the doctor tells you what needs to be done to get your health back, right? And so like contrast those two things and figure out like where do you fall kind of in that spectrum with regard to your web design. And it's probably somewhere in the middle. But most web designers are closer to the just tell me what to do and I'll do it side as opposed to the doctor side. And so what I mean by that is there's probably like a list of things that you can do. And so it's not like my son goes to the ice cream shop and has like no skills yet because it's his very first job. It's better than that. Like you're saying, I can do websites, I can do ads, I can do SEO, I can do social media, I can do graphic design, I can do logos. So like you have a list of things that you can do, but most web designers are saying like, well, here's all the stuff that I can do. You just ask me for what you want and I'll do the best job that I can delivering it. And I think right now it's just so hard to get your foot in the door if that's how you're approaching people. In fact, not only that, a lot of web designers aren't even going to the door, so to speak. Like what I mean is like people don't go to the networking events or have the in-person meetups or they don't do the outreach. And it's not really because they're afraid to do it. It's just like, I just don't know what to do when I get there. What am I supposed to say? So let me give you an example of one of the things that I think was just so eye-opening in a different context, because sometimes I think it's really helpful to hear it from a different context. So I'm at this networking event, and there's this guy named Joel there. And Joel says, like, I kind of meet up with him a little bit before like everything starts. Have a little bit of a few minutes or whatever, just sort of network amongst yourselves before the actual meeting starts. So I'm talking to Joel for the first time, and I'm like, hey, so what are you up to? And he tells me that he sells printers. And I'm like, oh, weird. And so immediately I get like these Dunder Mifflin vibes or like Office Max or whatever. I was like, that doesn't seem all that exciting to me. And so I was like, I don't know how to understand why he would come to a networking event if he sells printers and printing supplies. So anyway, so the meeting starts, and you know how you get a chance to like go around, kind of introduce yourself kind of formally during the meeting. So Joel has an opportunity to introduce himself, and he does this brain jolt thing where he says that he sells printers, but he says specifically for people that are printing and scanning sensitive information, like doctors or people that deal with financial information. And he says, did you know that your printer has a hard drive in it, and every time you scan or print something, whatever you last scanned or printed is kind of hanging out on the hard drive of your printer. So if you ever needed to get it serviced, or even if you're just throwing it away or selling it to somebody else, you can't just be giving away your printer with all the sensitive information on it, right? And like immediately, that was a brain jolt for me, because of course, the printer has a little operating system in there and a little drive to kind of figure out what to print and all that stuff. And the last couple of things I printed are probably sitting right there. And like if I'm printing out medical information or financial stuff or anything that's secure, I'm giving it away, right? And I didn't even know it, right? But it's like one of those things, it's like a truth that's hiding in plain sight. And when someone just reveals it to you, you immediately think that they're experts in that. Like I think like if I ever needed to buy any sort of printing equipment for any of the doctors that I work with or anything like that, I'd immediately recommend working with Joel so that he can make sure everything stays safe and secure. And so like how can we do something like that as web designers? Because that's like a huge brain jolt, right? And here's the interesting thing about that. Most people in these networking events, all these local business owners, they don't know hardly anything about online marketing and web design and all the stuff that you and I know about. So you don't really have to think of something that's unimaginably brilliant, right? It's just something that we probably already know, but they haven't thought of yet. And so, like, for example, one of the things that you could say would be like, did you know that Google doesn't index websites? And then everybody's gonna be like, of course they index websites. That's the whole point, right? You go to Google, you find all the websites you want. It's like, oh, they don't actually index websites, they index web pages. So if you're a local business owner and you're shoving all of your services onto one page, you're gonna be seen as sort of like a garden variety kind of, just I can do a bunch of services kind of business, right? So why not take the individual services and have individual service pages and talk about the details of one service on one page in the locations where you do them, and hopefully, right, that kind of lines up with your Google Business Profile too, right? So like the primary service category on your Google Business Profile is like the H1 tag on your homepage, and also up in the title tag, and all the secondary services are actually in your navigation, kind of almost word for word, so that it's clear that whatever you've listed on your Google Business Profile is actually what you do on your website. You're not just one of those people that clicks off all the services just to get all the visibility, even though you don't actually do all that stuff. It's not listed on your site. It's like that's all I'm saying. This is stuff that you and I probably already know. And if you share that, like when you share that in a meeting, like one of these networking groups or whatever, all these business owners are like, oh my gosh, that makes perfect sense. That's exactly right. That's like when Joel was talking about the sensitive information on your printer's hard drive. It only takes like a few seconds to share that kind of brain jolt, kind of like, did you know this? And of course, it's immediately obvious that if people were to work with you, you'd be able to get significantly better results for them than if they worked with a garden variety web designer, where the web designer is saying, well, how many pages do you want? And what colors do you like? And do you already have a logo or not? Or, all of that stuff where I'm just trying to get the specs for the project and then just do what the client says. Because the client would never think to focus on individual services that line up with the service categories on their profile. Like, they don't know how to do all of that, right? And then when you stand up and say, like, this is how it actually works, this is how you actually get results, it's that brain jolt that not only gets people's attention, but it elevates you into this high value position, and it differentiates you from everyone else who's not doing it that way. And that's one of the major secrets to figure out, like, how do I get my foot in the door? How do I get people's attention? How do I break down the barrier so I can actually help people with all of the crazy stuff that's available now in a way that actually makes sense to people? And it's that brain jolt idea, that one little thing that you can bring out in the beginning of a networking meeting or just in a face-to-face meeting, or just anytime you're talking to anybody, you can just share this one kind of brain jolt idea, and boom, not only do you have their attention, but you have it in a high value way, like you're like a business doctor, not just a garden variety web designer. But then that leads into, well, how do you then package that up? Like, what's the next step after that? Because you don't want to say, well, boom, I've got this great idea, and then kind of let it fall, and okay, well, now you tell me what you want me to do. You want to keep riding that wave. You want to keep riding that wave of authority. And the best way to do that has to do with how you package your web design. So instead of having like an ad hoc menu, why not have a couple of packages together? So check out this video right here, and I'll show you how we're packaging web design and what I think is the highest value way. I'll give you 3 frameworks, and one of them is trash, one of them is awesome. There's also kind of a sweet spot in the middle. So check that out, see what you think, and I'll see you right there.